Hello, this is roll reveal number 421, 1954D plastic tubed roll. I take it this is probably a good roll. Don't know for sure, but we will find out shortly. Here's the roll right here. I'm going to go ahead and pour it out and get started. Going to be running through beginning to end 3 different reveals today. During the day, and then this evening I have some other engagements to take care of, so I will be redistributing the schedule. Here is, hello Mr. Adams, hello Sissy. Here is coin number 1. Coin number 1 in this roll is, well, it's 1954D. I know that much. I'm going to try to get my lighting situated so that I can better gauge what is on this coin. Anytime I change how I'm using my scope, I also have to change my lighting. Lighting is probably one of the more important parts of getting this stuff right. If you don't have the right lighting and you don't have good lighting, you're not going to be able to tell what you have. Let's see here. And it looks like we have a little bit of a weak strike on this one. And it looks like a normal coin. We're going to look at the reverse on the first 10 coins. Not really known for double die reverses, 1954D. So we will look carefully at the first 10 coins. And then after that, we'll skip the reverses to make the show go a little bit quicker. How is everyone this beautiful day? It's a very warm day here. Very warm. Don't have any idea what the temperature is outside, but I've got it at a nice cool crisp 70 degrees inside. Penny Hoarder gets coin number 2. Let's take a look at coin number 2 and see what is there for Penny Hoarder. Yeah, this one turned out just a little bit spotty. A few stains here and there on this one. And nothing on the obverse. Now this is something that I've said in previous times through 1954 rolls, but I want to go ahead and say it again just to give you guys a heads up. This little guy right here, right above my hand, is a little thing that sticks out of the 9. And it does so on almost all 1954 cents. So do not grab that as, oh, this is a double die. No, it's not. It's unfortunate, but they messed up on that kind of stuff at the mint too. The problem is they messed that one up on a much larger scale than would be for a double die or a repunchment mark. And because it was on such a large scale, there is no actual interest in that sort of thing. It's called a master die doubling. Here is another 54D, and this one does not appear to be an RPM. And once again, you can see that little thing on the 9. It's not as strong on this coin because the die was a little later on this one. Late die state, the details tend to wear away from the die just a little bit as it's striking coins. And here is the reverse. Rather typical reverse for this era. That O and 1 is a little bit weak, and you're not going to get a 67 grade on any coin where the O looks like that. And the cause of this is a typical or a weaker than strong strike. And this area right here, if you flip the coin over, is exactly opposite the shoulder. And given that it's exactly opposite the shoulder, most of the metal from that part of the planchet is used to strike up the shoulder. And on this side, it just doesn't get quite the fill that it should. Just like this area right in here is usually kind of weak. The A and the M of America, and the reason for that is because it's directly opposite the ear in one of the highest relief areas of the obverse. And so if you get a typical or subtypical strike, those areas won't fill in completely. On the obverse or reverse, it's more noticeable on the reverse. Yo Man gets the next coin. This will be coin number 3, or I'm sorry, coin number 4 in this roll. And I don't see anything on the mint mark area. And nothing around the rest of the obverse. Check the reverse. It appears as though so far, I mean, if this roll works out to be exactly what we have seen so far, and the rest of the roll is about the same, looks like we're going to kind of come out with a very typical roll. Oh, Taco John. Good morning or good afternoon to you, wherever you may be. It is afternoon here in the Eastern time zone. Just not high quality coins, unfortunately. You look at these things, if you don't stick them under a scope and you just look at them, they look pretty clean, they look pretty decent. Stick them under the scope and they get to be, well, a little bit disappointing looking. But wow, we have a very weak pluribus. That's due to grease. You can see this large darker area. That large glob, that large darker area is where there was grease, grime, and metal shavings and other stuff plugging up the die while this coin was struck. Not only was it not struck very strongly to begin with, but this muck on the die kept the planchet from filling in those areas of the die and making a nice strike. So sometimes you'll see where people will talk about graded coins, and they'll see an MS64 red or something like that, and they'll say, oh, well, this coin didn't get a good strike, so that's why it grades so low. And the thing is, a lot of times that just isn't the case. Exactly what did happen was the coin was struck through a grease-filled die, and some of the design did not poke through well enough to fill in the cavities of the die, because there was already some other gunk inside there, and you don't see all of the details, all of the little bits of the design, and people think it's because of weak strike. That's not always the case. Sometimes there's crud stuck on the die when the coin is minted. Nice clean coin here, and this one is an RPM. You can see the split in the upper and the lower serifs. There, right there. Nice RPM for Mark. This one has just a little bit of a braided die doubling on it. You can see right out here on the edge of the 4 how it looks like there's almost like a second 4 out there. Well, that's very common on 1954 cents on later die state examples. Later die state examples, the molecules of steel flow outward like this as the coins are being struck. That's why all these little tiny trenches are all over the surface of the coin. Well, that's actually on the surface of the die, and as these little bits of metal are moving outward on the die, it tends to have more effect right next to a place where there's a larger cavity, like a canyon on the die near the edge of the coin, or the edge of the design, which is what's going on right here, is that you get this flaking right at the edge of the design, parallel to the movement of, but perpendicular canyon sides. It chips them out a little heavier, and it makes that chipping out of those bits of the design Actually makes it look like doubling when you strike a coin. So this is going to be our first die variety for the roll. This is a minor RPM, 1954D. And because we're still inside the first 10 coins, I'll flip this one over and we'll take a look at the reverse. Not expecting anything on the reverse of 1954D. Mostly just RPMs is really kind of all we're generally after on 1954D. It's really kind of all that's really known. There are a couple of double dies, but none too fantastic. They're just there. Hello, Eric. And here is coin number 8 for Stanley. Stanley gets coin number 8, and coin number 8 is... Yeah. Looks like it's normal. Normal obverse, anyway. Can't speak for the reverse until we see it, but knowing there's nothing out there on reverses so far, be a pretty safe bet. And safe bet worked out. Yeah, and we're up to coin number 9 now. This one's for Eric. Eric pops in, gets a coin. There's, see, kind of a late die state here. Nothing going on this particular coin. Kind of low quality. Sometimes the mint would get in a hurry and use these dies until they had really overextended their normal life. Yet they were holding together and continuing to mint coins. So they left them on the press because they don't really care. I mean, it is what it is. They're coins, right? As long as they get a design and they officially can be used in commerce, that's all the mint really cared. This one is a minor split upper serif. Really small split upper serif. I'm not going to count this one. There's just not enough there. But you can see a little tiny split on the upper serif. That's all there is with this. This one's got a bit of a Larry on it. Looks like it was an ender because it's a little darker. And flip inserts. That's something I've got to get done today so I can get this box out of here and get it sent to Florida so Eric can take a look at the new reveals that have been done. I have those up to 418, I believe, in this box. Getting ready to go. I think they're up to 418. Now we're on coin number 11. Coin number 11 goes to Carl. Now I'm going to work straight through these 3 reveals. I said this at the very beginning of the show, but other people have shown up since. I'm going to go ahead and work through the 3 daytime reveals, one right after the other, regardless of the time they're scheduled for. I will probably be finished before 4 o'clock. All right. Coin number 11, that'll be the last coin I check the reverse of as we're going through these, just because we really don't expect to see anything on 1954D reverse. Now moving on up to coin number 11. This one's for Sissy. Let's see what we got for Sissy here. Yeah. Now, all of this staining and streaking that you see on these coins are very, very common for the early 1950s. And what that's due to is the bath, the soap that they washed the planchets with at the mint prior to striking the coins. They would wash those planchets and get them nice and clean before they struck, and they would strike them with the soap residue left on the coins, and that's what oxidized and turned brown. So this is actually, if you really want to get down to it, it is actually a form of mint error, even though it's not really a mint error when you really You understand what I'm saying. It's a mint-made mistake. Problem. Yeah, so let's find the right word. This looks like it could be an RPM. I think we're going to have to get a better look at it, but it does appear to be an RPM. I'm going to go ahead and pull this one out and give it a home in the special stack at the end of the roll. So this one's going to go to Taco John. But before that, it's going to go to Eric for a really good look. Hello, Coin Junkie. Here's one for Carl. And Carl comes up with, yeah, it looks like a normal coin. And it is. Yeah, it's not bag storage that does these little issues. A poor bag storage is generally going to make the entire coin turn brown. It's not going to have bright red areas with darker spots. Hey, there you go. There's a nice RPM. Earlier die state, too. That one will be on the stack. Unfortunately, it has just a little bit of a Larry on it. You can see that there's a little bit of very light staining on it. But it is a nice coin. This one's going to Taco John. So Taco John, I believe, has more than one coin to be looked at. Yeah. Taco John has 2 out of the 3 coins that we found so far in this roll. 2 of the 3. All right, here we go. Next up, this one looks the same as Taco John's earlier coin. This one goes to Brendan. It looks like the D is a little bit thick. Now, this one's been hit, which is why it kind of looks weird. But that upper serif does look split. So it could be a late die state example of one of the coins we have, one of the dies that we have listed already. So I'm going to put that one on the special stack and move on to Adam. Adam's coin. Okay, this one is not a die variety. Not a die variety, but the coin is in remarkably good shape compared to the other coins in this roll. So this one's a nice one. Let's see, number 18 now. Moving on to Deanne. And we'll see what Deanne has here. Well, it's a very interesting looking coin. Let me flip it around here. It's just a little bit of twisting, I think, while the coin was being minted. So just a little bit of machine doubling on the lower part of the mint mark. And we'll take a look at the rest of the obverse and find nothing there. And so, coin 18, in and out. Now, coin number 19. This one's for Malcolm. Malcolm gets... This one's kind of a woody. Got a little bit of it's got a little bit of toning on it. Interesting coin. It's probably an ender because it is a little bit darker on the obverse than it is on the reverse. The reverse is still nice and red. Here's number 20. This one goes to Marshall. And Marshall will get... Looks like not an RPM. And not a double die. But it does have plenty of planchet wash stains on it. This is a very common occurrence for the Philadelphia mint coins of 1953 and 1954. And with these stains, you can't achieve a 67 grade because the luster is too impeded and the surface is too mottled looking to get a 67 grade. And because it's so very common, and well, a 67 grade requires that not be there. 67s are actually very scarce for 53 and 54. Some 15, 20 years back, a 1954 plane Lincoln sent made a 67 grade. I'll weigh this one. This one doesn't sound right. 1954 cent made a 67 grade and sold at auction for over $7,000. So, even though this is demint, and demint does come just a little cleaner. Let's see what we work out to here. It's actually heavy. 3.17. Let me get it out here on the flat part of the desk and make sure that's right. Yeah, 3.171. It's a little bit heavy. Let me tear it, do it again. It is a very unusual weight. 3.177. So it is what it is. Joe, I'm going to mark this one on your holder. It's not really overweight by enough to make a big difference, but because I've already weighted, I may as well just write it on your flip insert. There we go. 3.177 grams. It's amazing how such a small difference in the weight is something I can detect. It's just weird. I don't know how I do it. But there we have it. All right, number 23 now. 23 goes to Stanley. I guess that's why Hidden calls me the Penny Jedi, the master of Lincoln cents. I would take that whimsically, but if anyone was actually being serious about that, I would have to dump that term because it sounds kind of conceited. Mr. Morrell is next. So that one sounds normal. And it is a normal die. And that is number 24, now number 25. 25 goes to Crispy. That one sounds normal. It's a specific pitch that it puts off. That when you hear a coin that's underweight, it's going to have more of a tinny sound. And one that's overweight has a little more ring to it. It just sounds different. I think after you've heard a few 100,000 of them, you start getting used to the sound. Austin still wonders how I do that. He'd be sitting at a desk all the way across a room pouring pennies out onto a table to sort them, and I'll tell him, hey, one of those isn't right. Sure enough, he'll look through them and he'll find the one that isn't right. He has brought to me coins that were split after strike. He's brought one that was split before strike. He's brought tapered planchets, a few rim clips, just different things that work out to be less than a full planchet. They don't sound right when you drop them on a table. They just have an odd sound. You're not hurting the coins any. These coins have been through a hell of a lot more than you dropping them from 1/4 of an inch onto a wooden desk. So that's not hurting them any. It's just listening to the resonance of the metal that they're minted with. It's also a good way to tell fakes. Take a 1909S VDB and drop it on a table. Yeah, people cringe. They think, oh, he's going to damage the coin. No, you're not damaging a coin. Not with such a small drop. I mean, I'm not throwing it across the room. I'm just letting it settle on a table. And you can hear if it sounds right or if it doesn't sound right. The ones that don't sound right usually sound quite a bit off. They sound more like a silver dime. Or they'll have a dead thud because they're made of pot metal. But they're smart enough to at least do copper planchets properly when they're going to mint fake Lincoln cents. Most of them are on copper 3.1 gram blanks. So the weight and composition of most of your fake pennies are correct. So then you have to look at the design and how they were struck. A lot of them were struck very weakly, and they were struck with very odd designs, most of which kind of turn out to be, I think this is one of our little RPMs. I'll set this one aside with the others. It looks like the upper serif is a little bit distended. You'll be able to tell with that die crack on the head and in the hair if it matches the other die that we have sitting here for the same purpose. This one's for Sissy, so Sissy, we will find out for you. The next one up is for Deanne. And Deanne, this is not one of the RPMs. This is a very late die state coin. And that one's kind of a nothing. Go on to number 32. Number 32 goes to Penny Hoarder. Oop, this one doesn't sound quite right. See if that was just me. It was. It was just me. Nothing more than my hypersensitivity trying to pick something out of something that isn't. You're going to be listening for mistakes, and if you listen for mistakes, you'll find them. And if you're not really listening for mistakes, then when you do hear one, it'll be more obvious. So my thing is if you're actually dropping every coin just to listen to the coin, you're going to start making up differences that aren't actually there, and you'll start driving yourself nuts trying to weigh everything. Not what you should do. Just wait until something pops up that's wrong. When it pops up and it's wrong, you'll know it. You'll know it. You'll hear it. Eric's coin is, other than being a late die state coin that has planchet wash stains on it, it's fine. Watched a nice long show on jellyfish last night as I was nodding my way down to sleep. And jellyfish are some very interesting creatures. This one is one of our upper split serif RPMs, perhaps. And I don't have those cracks on this coin, so perhaps that last one was not actually one of the RPMs, and I was pulling it out of an abundance of precaution, but this one is definitely a little thick. So Yeah, I was watching about the different jellyfish that we have all over the planet, and it seems that jellies, and invertebrate species are starting to overpopulate the oceans in areas where we generally do fishing. There used to be a nice little balance between commercial fishermen and the jellyfish. What happens is when there are no vertebrate fish left, the invertebrates tend to overpopulate. And it has become a serious problem in places off the coast of Japan and Asia in general, where they have overfished the water. And instead of having, the reefs and the coral and all the fish and all that good stuff, along with a few jellyfish, basically what's left is a murky, muddy, sandy bottom with very few fish because there's not very many nutrients, and the jellyfish are what's left, and they don't require a lot of nutrients. It's also interesting, something I learned last night that was new to me, is that in general, jellyfish can live in just about any part of the ocean. It doesn't have to be tropical, doesn't have to be warm, doesn't have to be specifically cool or cold or anything else. There are lots of jellyfish that live off the coast of Norway, off the coast of Greenland, but they're also in subtropical and tropical waters. They're pretty much everywhere. Only about 75% of the species of jellyfish can actually sting humans. The other 25 to 30% are completely inert to humans. And of the ones that can sting, there are about a half a dozen deadly species. One of them being the box jellyfish that generally lives off the coast of Australia, and another one being the much smaller relative, the irukandji, which is nearly clear, almost invisible, very difficult to see, and deadly to humans. There's also the Portuguese man-o-war. It's the only one I have ever personally witnessed off the coast of Lake Worth, Florida, Lake Worth Beach, Florida. We were walking the beach there one time, and there were little Portuguese man-o-war everywhere on the beach. They are the only jellyfish-like animals that we generally encounter that are not actually jellyfish. They are a colony of polyps that get together and work together as a colony, and they float on the top of the sea underneath a balloon of air, basically. So they're floating around on the water under this little blue balloon. They have a relative in the South Pacific called the bluebottles, and the bluebottles are similar and just as dangerous as the Portuguese man-o-war. All these little things that you can fill your head with late at night, just before you're getting ready to go to bed. So you make it to where there's absolutely no way in hell you're going to fall asleep, because your brain is just buzzing with, okay, well, the planet is dying, and it's dying to a bunch of invertebrate globs, and we can't eat those, so our food is dying, and I'm supposed to be going to sleep. Nice that I do this sort of thing to myself. Exactly why, I'm not sure, but I do learn. I learn quite a bit of stuff while I'm doing this, but I should probably be learning a little bit more about hummingbirds or something nice right before I go to bed. Here's coin number 46. Got 5 coins left in the roll, and this is the first of those 5 coins. This one's going to Malcolm. And this roll has been rather unfortunate, rather less than sparkly. But I take them as I get them. I don't really know what else to do for you. Let's see here. Yep, that's another normal one. Mostly very late die state. This roll was probably created kind of late in the year, when they were trying to ride out the life of what they had left before they changed over to the next year. And we're up to number 49 now. I'll be moving on to the 1957 D roll about 5 minutes after I finish this one. All I have to do is end the broadcast, move over, and begin a new broadcast, so it's not going to be that difficult. If you guys want to go out to the lobby and wait for me, it will be the roll reveal number 422. And that will be up next. And that's coin number 49, on to coin number 50, and we are at the end of the roll. This one is for Mark. And Mark gets, about the same thing most of the other people have gotten. Just a 1954 D that's got a bunch of mint-caused little spots on it. Now, these aren't carbon. They are soap, planchet wash. They weren't properly dried. Oh, this one's got toning on the reverse. This is indeed the Ender. It's got some nice color. You don't see it very well under the scope, but it is pretty nice. All right, there is that roll. What we end up with on that roll are about 44 normal coins. Let me get my stuff straight here. Wow, I cannot believe I've been doing this for as long as I have, and I still don't have better coordination with this. There we go. Been playing with rolls of coins and flips for a long time. Okay, here's our die varieties. No, you can't wash the planchet wash off, because once a piece of copper oxidizes and turns away from its original red, getting it back to its original red is something we haven't quite figured out how to do without otherwise ruining the coin. All right, here's coin number 7, 36, 30, 16, 15, and 13. All the die varieties I've found in this roll so far. And I'm going to wrap this up and call it a day on this one. I'll show you guys how I do this. There's my wrap. I literally wrap these up. Kind of funny, isn't it? Wrap it up and get ready. All right. Get my wrap nice and flat. Here they are. Get my little marker here. There they are. This is what they look like after I'm finished with them. Wrap them up, box them up, send them to Florida. All right, folks, I'll be back in about 5 minutes with number 422. I'll see you there.